to South Pacific Muscle. Tonight, well, I've let Ange out of her cage. We have got Ange Wilkinson, GPC Powerlifting Champ 2019, 2020, and coach to 20 plus odd athletes. She's got a good little team going there. So welcome on board, Angela.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is quite the call.
Yeah, hey man, it's just, come and talk some shit about lifting. That's all we do.
Mixing it up. People are getting sick of the bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Muscle is muscle, eh?
Absolutely. And look, I'm really interested because we've got a really neat little scene where there's probably 3 or 4 girls that lift seriously, they compete. And it's really cool to watch them train. I find it very, very motivating, and fuck, they are hard,
I tell you what, women's powerlifting is so super competitive, and those girls are hard out.
Yeah, it's cool.
They are hard out.
I think Ben Chow, one of the Redcon athletes, bodybuilder, was talking about the most sort of gutsiest lifts he'd seen, and he said pretty much all of the gutsy lifts he'd seen were women deadlifting. He said they don't give up. He said they just
keep pulling.
Rip that mother. Right. Okay. So I think I'll hit some very quick fire questions before we get into detail about yourself. But favorite lift?
I think I like the deadlift the most, but I do like the bench.
Ooh. Mike, thoughts on the big 3? What are you?
Well, I called the bench the most overrated exercise for most athletes. I love the deadlift. I've always had a strong low back, so I love the squat, love the deadlift, but I'm a terrible bencher. I've got shoulders now. So definitely the other 2.
No, I like the bench because it's hardest for girls to bench big.
Yeah, that's true.
Out of interest, how far down do they need to bring it? I mean, if a woman had large breasts, would she bring it down any less far and powerlift? I mean, what's the deal there?
It kind of depends on their levers and their mechanical setup in general. So like everyone sets up in their own movement pattern really. So like I try and like set the lats, so then pushing up that chest and then squeezing it down. And so everyone's lats connection as well is very individual. Can be high, medium, or low.
Does that decrease the depth that you have to bring it to? I mean, what's the rules?
Yeah, I mean, like you just got to have the bar that is, I call it feather touch, the chest or the torso. And then in training, we try and keep it as a 2-second pause, then we power it up.
Nice. Right. I've got to say, I'm going to throw mine in. I'm squat. And I haven't squatted for months and months and months, but it's still my favorite lift.
The squat scares me on depth, and I get pinged every so often. Not that often, but every so often I'm a little bit of the shy.
Yeah. I think. Sorry, Mike.
Did you listen to the podcast I sent you where the guy was going 1,000 pounds for 3 reps on the squat?
No.
Nuts.
Wow.
It's pretty
nuts.
cool.
Nuts.
Town.
Right. International competition. You're on the deadlift. If you pull the deadlift, you win the competition. But if you pull it, you piss yourself. Do you take the lift or do you piss yourself?
You fucking never put that deadlift down, man.
Yeah.
You can piss yourself. You can shit or attack. But unless you're actually gonna like die, you have to keep pulling.
I wouldn't have answered that because I get to the squat and I bomb, so I'm out. I'm sitting on the sideline watching by the time bench and deadlift comes around.
Everyone's worst nightmare, bombing on the squat. Like, everyone's worstest nightmare ever.
I did it at the Oceanias in Townsville. Travelled over there and it was really hot and I was kind of a bit, and went and got a white from the New Zealand and 2 reds from the Aussies on every lift. So anyway, it was what it was. Most memorable powerlifting memory, either of yourself or someone else, that really sticks out for you and your time in the sport?
I think like for me it was actually when I was just beginning and I could finally just pull 100 kilos. Like that feeling of, I'm in triple figures now. I'm a skinny little chick, losing some weight, being a skinny little chick, and then finally deadlifting 100 kilos. Like you feel like the boss ass.
Nice.
That's my ultimate favorite moment Because now it's just like I just want up and over 500. So
What have you got any memories of other lifters or people that have inspired you over the years that you've seen?
you know, I'm really ridiculously self-centered, to be honest, and I'm in my own sort of mind space. Like I'm a bit of an absolute weirdo, I guess. Other people don't inspire me. I know that sounds terrible. I just only focus on my own self 100% of the time, and how I can improve just the way I move weight, and how I can get stronger on any element that I can find. So I'm just self-centered.
You need to be a bodybuilder. You're in the wrong sport.
That's what I was
We're
thinking.
the most narcissistic, self-centered people on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what would be my most memorable moment that I've seen in powerlifting? Probably Derek Pomana squatting, I think it was 385, and his nose exploded, and when I was like,
Oh yeah. I mean, there are some like videos out there of just epic lifters that just, I mean, like that's it. Like when you love strength sport, I just see everyone is amazing as well. Like I see some videos, I'm like, damn, that's cool. You know, when you see like a guy or a woman just lifting something impressive, or just in training on their dedication, I'm just like, that's fucking cool. I just love that.
do you know one of my recent ones, and I've never told her, and I hope she doesn't watch this, but there's a young girl in our gym that trains, and she squats and fucking does sumos and pauses them in the middle and makes every rep as hard as possible, and you know, very obviously tailored to her training.
Yeah.
But one day she was lying in the squat rack with fucking wraps halfway across the gym, a bag over there, had her headphones on, there was chalk and shit everywhere, and I just went, fuck, that's cool. You know, it was like, this is my space and I'm fucking this big. And I was like, wow. You know, so that was a pretty cool little recent moment. What would be the funniest thing that you've seen in powerlifting in your powerlifting days?
I saw this woman, I think everyone's seen this video, and she absolutely power chucked over the platform. Like it was decent. It was beyond anything. It was just amazing.
I've got two stories. One, a friend of mine, Nick Hansen, was pulling, I think 330, 340 or something like that, and he deadlifted, locked it out, put it down, and then went to stand up and just blacked out and wiped out on the bar. And so he was sort of unconscious on the platform. And he got up with this real dopey look on his face, didn't know what the fuck was going on. So we always had a bit of a laugh about that. The dumbest thing I've ever seen was me. Central District Powerlifting Champs, and one of the boys was drinking something. What's that? And they said, oh, it's sodium bicarbonate. You know, and I was like, oh, what does that do? And he told me.
Hey guys, can you come help my computer?
So I just said, oh, I'll give it a shot, and I drank it, and I had a Titan squat suit on. Hey guys.
Hey.
And I had my knee wraps on, and I was warming up, and all of a sudden I felt my stomach drop, and I went, fuck, I've got to go, and I ran to the cubicles and just lost about 2 liters in about fucking 2 seconds, and got up on the platform really fatigued and depleted because I just about shat everything out that I could. So,
oh my god!
Massive tip: don't try anything new on the day.
Like, really don't. Like, yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Everyone has these like thoughts of what they want to do on comp day, and for some random ass reason, they think that suddenly I should like binge eat the night before. Or massively eat truckloads on the day. Like on the day, I don't really eat a lot. I'm just anxiety plus. I just want to destroy. It's like my mindset.
It just sounds so familiar. So much like bodybuilders in peak week. You know, maybe I've got the magic plan that'll make me into something that I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, like I eat into my comp. I'm like I'm too light for my weight class. I'm like 5 kilos under. It's silly. And I eat into the day, and then the day before I'm eating just the normal food, which is almost like an off-season bodybuilder, but just more carb dense, I guess. And then on the day, I just have my Gatorade and I have my aminos, and I just have some finger carbs that I can eat, like Oaty bars and stuff. Yeah. I just don't eat a lot on the day. If I haven't done my job from the Monday, and I'm competing on the Saturday, I'm just gonna be average, but I never want my bowel like chocker full of crap. Yeah. You know, I just I don't want to be heading into a squat with a stuffed up bowel. You know, so I just eat normal. I don't do the whole water tricking to come in under my class. Like for my lifters and me, it's the rule is a month out, you got to be in your weight class, or I'm going to punch you out, or I don't give a shit. You just lift where you're at and get strong. Like you ain't going to deplete yourself to get your ass handed by someone else. Just come in as strong as you can be and kick ass.
The funny thing too is, you know, like one thing that bodybuilders don't have to consider is that when you're lifting in really tight lifting gear, be it a squat suit, a bench shirt or whatever, a slight change in body weight changes the, you know, the leverages in it and the way it fits and the way you can talk to, you know, it, and
that's
and
multiply.
And even I found like the belt, you know, if you're feeling a bit bloated, the belt doesn't sit the same.
Everything. It actually, like if you are bloated on the day, or if you've eaten food that you don't eat, like eating crap in general, you get lethargic. You get to deadlift, you got nothing, and then you've got me, and I'm laughing. Because I'm already beast mode at that time. I'm like, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Nice. That's the thing.
That's how I think.
Yeah,
I'm just a bit psycho like that. I just ruthless in my mindset.
You kind of have to be, you know, like when you're out there, you know, it's you against you really. But if you're not in that, you know, I'm going to attack that fucking weight and I'm leaving no stone unturned, you know, your total might be 10% down, or even if it's 2% down, it might be enough to make you drop a place.
The thing is confidence is massive, that you actually have to be confident. Like any ounce of doubt, you're not going to lift it. So like on the day I have anxiety, but I use it in my favor. Yeah. So I use it to lift more. And I'm full of myself. I have to be confident. If I go into the meet and I have doubt that I'm gonna do okay today, I might as well not tune up. I might as well stay home in my pajamas and watch Netflix, because that's exactly how I'm gonna perform.
Mike, later on you might want to talk a bit about the psychology stuff, because there's a lot of self-talk that goes on when you're on a platform.
Yeah, preparation routines. Yeah, I imagine they'll be pretty well structured.
Yeah. Okay. Squatting. Do you dive bomb it like Shane Hammond, or do you go down so slowly that, like Colin Cox, I could almost read a chapter of Tolkien on the way down? What's your approach?
I'm a controlled powerlifter. Like everything I do is really controlled. So like I have my pelvis is open, my knees are open, I'm squeezing back into the bar, and I'm sitting back and down, and I'm just pressure against that bar. Yep. And I'm just sinking as low as I can, keeping everything open and my upper back tight. Like if my elbows and my upper back isn't tight on the unpick, this ain't gonna end happy. So it's all on that unpick. I know how this is gonna play out, because if the unpick and the upper back isn't tight, that's when the chest folds. That's when you good morning it and your knees cave in.
Yeah. You must use a lot of cues to yourself when you're lifting as well to get those things spot on, or do you check them? Like I know from bodybuilding perspective, we go start at the feet, make sure your feet are right, gut your calves, your hamstrings, you know, and then abs upwards, and then start again at the bottom, sort of thing. But do you have cues when you're going in to lift?
Yeah, I run them like almost a minute before I enter the platform. So once I'm on the platform, I kind of zone straight in. Everything's quiet to me. Mm-hmm. And then I set my feet, and then I squeeze the floor out, so my knees are pushed out. I make sure that my hip is nice and open at that point. Mm-hmm. And then I brace up and into the bar. Yep. And then I squeeze that back, and then I'm standing tall. And then I'm going to start that downward phase. And then once I'm there, it's power up, and I always think at that point is chin above water. So I'm always pushing up. I'm pushing that chest up in order to rise above. Mm-hmm. So if I'm not thinking like that, that's another way that you're gonna crash that squat. Yeah, I always think chest. Chin above water when I'm
you're bringing back so many kind of memories and things for me. Like I'm thinking, you know, like benching, spread the bar. You know, when I'm deadlifting, I always had a thing. I struggle getting my hips through. As soon as the bar broke the ground, I'm like, midnight maneuver. If anyone knows what that is, I always used to tell young boys in gym, if you're not sure what it is, imagine you've got someone in front of you and you're fucked. So I'm like,
Yeah,
get up and
actually.
throw your hips through, and that's how I treat myself, so all these little things sort of I've forgotten about, to be honest, and it's quite cool hearing about it and kind of sparking my memory. Oh, I'm going to get all excited and I'm going to go want to play powerlifting again.
That's actually cool. I think you should. I mean, even for bodybuilding, like to be able to, think about, the external rotation, it activates your posterior chain and your glutes and your hamstrings that much more. And a lot of those booty band girls are wasting so much time when they could even use their booty bands more effectively and actually activate their glutes and hamstrings. When half the videos I watch of these chicks, I'm like, bro, you're not even using your ass.
Oh, God. Hey, real interesting that I've found at the moment, there were a lot of bodybuilders that had shows cancelled, maybe even some of the pros with international shows cancelled, and they've went, oh, well, because I can't compete, I'm going to go and do some powerlifting. So
they have, yeah.
Yeah, so you're probably getting a few converts from the shiny sport into the grit and grind.
They have, and the thing is the bodybuilders coming over have amazing base strength. They're not coming over novice. They're kidding themselves if they're saying, "Oh, I'm a novice." They're actually got an amazing base strength, and with that raw strength that they have, that means that they can outlift a lot of girls in powerlifting that actually are novice and that they've gotten into the gym situation to learn strength training and to get stronger via powerlifting. So the converts of the bodybuilders actually do quite well. The biggest thing for them is the technique is so different. And what we do for nutrition and what we do on competition day and how we move weight is the difference where if I run out of strength potential, as in what my raw strength is, I've still got my technique and I've still got my kinetic energy that I can come into play. Whereas they would have very little idea of what I'm actually talking about.
Yeah, I think a real easy way that I always found us explaining it was, with strength sports, you train the movement. With bodybuilding, you train the muscle. And for us, I couldn't give a shit what weight I lift. It's about stressing the muscle to the maximum and getting the growth. Whereas when I was, powerlifting, when I was in strongman, even when I look at the CrossFit guys, it's like, move the fucking weight at all costs possible. Do what you've got to do without hurting yourself, but move that fucking weight.
That's it. I mean, it's the art of how you move weight. And we use, and the way that the style that we, like how I'm coached and whatnot, is we use a lot of force and kinetic energy in order for us to move weight and the technique to move weight. But in saying that, after we, in programming style for what we have a primary lift, which is our key lift, and then our secondary lift, which is either working a fault that we have or bringing up a strength that we have that we want to maximize in competition. And then we have our accessories, or I call them auxiliaries, and therefore building the different areas of the lift to bring it up or maximize and any weaknesses that we have. So it's more or less we're building I call it my warship. I'm building my warship for the platform. So that's bodybuilding as such, but it's not aesthetic based. It's for moving weight and making us as strong in those movement patterns.
A real common one that I've seen a lot in the gym recently, and I've got my own views on it, but I'll sit on that. Particularly guys pulling deadlifts and probably getting pretty close to where they tap out at, and they're not getting their hips through. It comes up quite comfortably over the knees. Once it gets over the knees, they do that horrible kind of shrug, humpy fucking thing trying to get it through. What would you suggest to someone who was struggling in that aspect of the deadlift? Because it's such a common thing for all sorts of things.
There's a few things that would most likely be going on in that movement pattern. But what I always try and describe is once you're initiating that deadlift and and the bar is rising, is think about squeezing your glutes in. Not so much thinking about the hip itself, but squeeze those glutes in. So it's actually the glutes that are squeezing back into that neutral position at the top.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys are trying to use their lower back and traps.
Force the weight up for a deadlift. You can't. For me, and lifting in general, for a deadlift that's super heavy, you can't there's only so much brute force you can actually give it. You've got to treat it like a zipper, and you've got to keep it tight, keep those lats, protect your armpits, and keep pushing through those heels, glutes, and hamstrings, and squeeze those glutes up, and in. Not brute force it, because that's when you can start getting injuries, and you're pulling and it's forward, like those lats aren't tight and touch back. It's never gonna finish tidy.
So you talked about training style, and like, you know, when I was around, when I started 400 years ago, it was all linear periodization, and I used to steal Derek Pomar's old programs and Phil Emmett's programs, and then you know, I found that okay, and then people started getting into Shaco and things like that, and it just bored the shit out of me, because all I did was squat, deadlift, and bench on the same day and do it over and over, and I'm like, fuck this. And I discovered Westside, and I went, woohoo, Westside's the fucking shit, and I really enjoyed it, that style of training, because there was a bit of variety, and it was like power bodybuilding to a certain extent. But what would you describe your particular style of training and the style that you prescribe out to your athletes as?
Well, when they're really new, just teaching them the, you know, strength training in general. So very, very new, I do a bit of a power builder for very, very new, because they need to build some foundation and get used to being in the gym and getting stronger in general. Up from there, I go into a basic linear, and then from there it's a more of an advanced linear, and then I start going into undulating linear progression, and the exercises, it could be undulation for us, could be whether it's volume, whether it's load, whether it's the exercises itself. So and in which case we don't do as much deloading as well, because it's we're riding a wave progression, and we could overload a particular thing. So it could be, this week I want to overload the slingshot, and so we're on a slingshot to overload the bench rather than the full movement itself.
Yeah.
So it's also in the respect of being healthy, that we're not stuck on doing the same movement all the time. So I'm doing an opposite area the following week is often the common. So letting one area heal while I'm working on another area. So it's building absolute strength.
It's kind of similar to our conversation the other day about the way that the progressive overload, you know, how 1 week you're training something quite subtly or similar, but you know, and then the following week it's something a bit different. But they they do assist each other in the long run.
Yeah, well, it's also, you know, like for how I'm training is I bench twice a week, and often the squat and the deadlift, we, like for nationals, I didn't deadlift really a full deadlift at all, to be honest. I think the month leading in, I did a pull at flex at Takapuna, and I did 2 pulls at flex, just to do the conventional. But for my whole prep, it was working on my weaknesses and using the squat and the bench to bring that deadlift up, because, you know, the deadlift is the most CNS taxing. So not taxing my system all the time is the most important. So it's just stopping your system from overloading long term. So because every week when you're leading into a meet, you're gathering that internal fatigue. And then that's when you start feeling like utter trash going into the meet. So to help prevent that is to be very, very smart in regards to the overload system in particular.
How sort of far, and Mike, I'm going to hand over to you because I know you love this training stuff, but how far ahead are you looking, you know, because I know when I used to look back at some of the old Eastern Bloc style training, they would plan a year in advance of their training. How sort of far ahead are you typically looking with an advanced lifter?
Well, you know, like for me personally is I've got some pretty decent goals and I need to keep building. So I'm at sort of like this horrible in-between sort of period where I have some goals that I want to set, and it's going to take me a bit of time, because that's not like I can PB like in 6 months time kind of thing, like some lifters that are new can do. It takes me a bit more time. I've got some movement mobility issues to work through, and I've got different weaknesses that I have to strengthen in order to move up to that next sort of level that I'm looking for. And that takes time. It's not a 2-minute job. So I have my eye on around, it's definitely, we work in fight, a year, 2 years, 5 years sort of thing, 10-year period. So even when I'm 50, I'm planning on beasting.
Gold. Sorry, Mike, I'm going to give you a bit of your time, mate.
Oh, well, geez, I've been real understanding now how little I know about powerlifting. So, virtually all of that was new to me. But yeah, so what Nathan knows so much that he's kind of assuming that everybody else does too, and maybe everybody else does. But for strictly bodybuilders like myself, I've heard a bit about how powerlifters train. But can you give me let's start with the basics. You rock up to the gym to do a session, let's say it's squat. What would your warm-up look like?
So for my warm-up, I do a little bit of yoga, I guess, which is my dead bugs and my bird dogs. I get out my booty band, like a typical booty band girl, and I do a butterfly glute bridge. I'll do a few dozen of those. I'll grab a band and I'll start some lateral lunges. Just to start really opening up and working through those adductors, and then I'd get that band to get another glute sort of band, put it over my thighs, grab a kettlebell, and I'll just start pushing against that band, so I'm opening out those knees to initiate doing some goblet squats of getting that movement pattern early. And once, and I often video those so that once that movement is clear, so I'm straight up and down and those knees are opening up, that pelvis is opening, and there's no form of hip shift or anything like that, and I'm nice and square and syncing well, then I know it's time for me that I'm okay to go onto the bar. And then I'll just start working through the bar, and then see whatever that program has for the day.
So that it sounds like a lot of that neuromuscular activation, sort of getting those movement patterns right, as well as sort of warming up the muscles. There's no muscle fatigue. I mean, you sound like you had a lot of glute work and a lot of quite light, so it's working your movement patterns as opposed to fatigue.
It's just lighting up all my electricals through my body so that I'm warm, I'm familiar, everything's moving as it should do. I know that there's some powerlifters that are ex-bodybuilders and they might start on a bike or a treadmill. It doesn't actually do anything, not really. It's just heating up water of the body. So what I do is I'm having everything activating as it should, that movement pattern's on point before I've got to the bar. And the reason being is whatever you do on those warm-ups and on that goblet squat and actually getting that core activated through the dead bugs and the bird dog, when you get to your heavy sets, you want to make sure that you're very stable under that bar and you're mobile. So that supplementary strength is there. So that's why yoga on that thing is pretty valuable. So I'm stable and I'm able to handle the load, and it's even as I'm squatting that. It's not like I've got a hip out or my knee is coming slightly in. So the weight distribution is even as it's coming down.
I was running late because I got back from the chiropractor for mobilising my side joint after squatting on Friday. So yeah, I hear you there.
Yeah, I go to the chiro every fortnight. That's
are you working? Is your range of motion working? Like, is it bigger than the movement you're making? So you've got more mobility in your hips and your glutes and things than you need to squat, or are you working at your range of motion when you're getting into your full squat?
So on my depends on exactly what the movement is. So like if it's just looking on a low bar back squat, for me, I kind of train as I would in a comp. So if my program was to say low bar back squat, I want to hit it right on the money. So it's I want my hip crease below my knee at as many reps and sets as I can possibly get it. So every rep I do is identical to the previous. So that when I hit the platform, it's exactly as I would mirror it in my training.
But you've got the capacity to go a little deeper should you for some reason choose to. It's not like you're right at the limit of your range of motion.
No, the range of motion that I can do is if I've got, oh, Ange, no, I'm the judge and I'm going to give you a red light, and my mate over there is, I can always sink at that fraction more.
Yeah.
And I wear wraps on my heavy squats. I'm too old for just this knee sleeve IPF kind of thing. I need my wraps. I'm just too old. So I just gonna, for me though, my hamstrings, I've got those hanging hamstrings and they touch my calves. So I've got to really tighten those into my wraps so that I can definitely, because when I squat, my hamstring sits on my calves before I power up. They're hanging hamstrings, so I've got to tie them up.
Nice.
I don't have
short,
that. Yeah, I don't have that problem.
It's because I'm short. I just got the shortest levers. It's silly.
Gold.
So there's way more to it than as far as sort of the parts of the range of motion you're working. It sounds like there's as much variability in what you do as there really is in bodybuilding, which surprises me.
It's very variable. Yeah, there's a lot of elements on it that most people have zero idea about. And it's just done in stages, you know, like you got to, it's like bodybuilding, you've got to be dedicated to your sport and have the mindset of, I want to improve myself. How do I go about that? And what am I doing is that, and when I'm squatting or if I'm benching or if I'm deadlifting, how does it feel? Like, you know, when you do the bench, if, you know, how your shoulders feel. And does this feel like it's going to end well? Am I actually going to press this up, or is it just not?
Yeah.
So that being said, that there's an enormous amount of variability in both the types of activities you're doing for the range of motion and bits and pieces, all different weaknesses. Ballpark, how many sets and or reps would you do in a typical workout for the meat and potatoes of your workout?
Okay, well, we work in blocks as well. So like at the moment, I'm in a hypertrophy, powerlifters hypertrophy block for me.
Is that 4 reps?
I've actually got 10 sets at the moment.
Yeah.
10 goddamn sets. Last week was 8. And like this week is 10. And it takes me an hour to get through those goddamn sets. And so at the moment I'm percentage. So to get the weight of what I have to do for the exercise that I have to achieve, or the key exercise, is either in percentage or an RPE. And at the moment it's in percentage, which is, I prefer percentage for me. I like having an exact number that I have to work on. RPE, I always find like, I'm a bit tired today. This feels like a 7.
So RPE is that perceived effort?
Rating of perceived exertion, yeah.
Yes. Someone want to do a bit of a, I'm a bit slow on these things. Do you want to give us just a layman's definition of that so people can understand what RPE is?
Yeah, it's just a scale from 0 to 10. So 10 is max effort, and then you would have like 9. You would have, say, like 1 left in the tank sort of thing, and it scales down like that. And it's just like anyone can find it. It's just common on Google as well as the RPE scale, and you can even apply that in bodybuilding when you're trying to get a pump on and get your reps up, rather than going like 4 sets of 12. You could go 4 sets of RPE 8 or 80%.
I've never done that. I just go to like a fucking
all
movie.
10s. They're all 10s.
12, 10, 8, 6.
So 10 sets at the moment. How many reps per set was that series?
Well,
no, series 4 reps a set.
What I'm doing, it was 80% of singles for this week on a sumo, which I hate. Like,
so you do 10 singles on 80% of your 1 rep max.
Of my current sumo. So that's the other thing is like, it's the percentage is also of in regards to the exercise that it is. So like you would have a percentage of what your shoulder press is, what your competition bench is, your squat is, competition squat, your high bar squat, your squat to box, your conventional deadlift, your sumo deadlift, your rack pull. So it's actually having more of an insight of where your strength lies in all these areas, and which also brings up where your weakness lies in these different areas. You know, like pendulum rows bring up the bench and the deadlift. and it helps bring up my rear delts more. Whereas, you know, bodybuilders will do a bent over row and, you know, and rep it out.
I love pendulum rows. They're great. That's a dead stop row for anyone that
Yeah.
doesn't know it. So pause at the bottom, on the ground, pull up.
Yeah.
Great exercise.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it sounds similar because we've got a whole range of exercises that are targeting specific weaknesses in the way our body looks. You've got a whole range of exercises that are targeting specific weaknesses in part of your lift, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. So
And
some
you
similarities.
know, and that's it. Like, and I guess like you always look as how you train. So if you're like a marathon runner, you know, you're gonna have the skinny knobbly knees and stuff, and the small shoulders and what have you. And then so as a bodybuilder, when you're fully in your hypertrophy, trying to get your X frame, you're gonna look as such. And so for a powerlifter, we, you know, with muscle fibers that we use, we only have hypertrophy for a few months in our off season. Before we start looking at at where we're going to go that year and where the meets lie. And then we start into our working blocks and towards the meet.
And would those working blocks have higher rep sets in there? I mean, I know you're not going to do anything like the 8s or 10s that we're doing, but sort of 3s, 4s, 5s?
It's
any
gonna
higher?
like really depend on the undulation that we're trying to achieve in each block. Like we could do a strength block, could do a speed block, could be doing a stability and mobility block. And that's, you know, I think that this being as stable as you can be underweight is the most important because that's going to gain more kilos when you're on the day. So the sets and reps, you know, you can do a traditional 5x5 and then do it on a banded bench, makes it really exciting. And that's going to get you stronger over a month's period sort of thing and stable underweight. So that's a common thing that we would do, like to create that force energy by doing banded bench 5x5. Or like I had chain bench the other day, and it's just helping to push through the weight on coming back up as the chain weight is coming to the top.
That's so much fun. I also love training with chains and that. Not so much bands. I found the band tension beat your joints up pretty quickly.
I don't mind. I kind of like when we first started training with bands. I freaking hated it. Freaked me out. Like it was just everywhere. And then you realize, man, I suck. I'm so unstable.
Well, that's probably it. Hey, what I want to do is just have a quick look at your Insta, just so we can promo a bit about you and your page and things, and we have a look at a couple of photos. You've got a couple of Instas, haven't you?
Yeah, I got my Auckland Powerlifter, which used to be like my secret training log, but it's not so secret. People found me. And then I have my Ange Wilkes Valkyrie, and that's where I try and showcase, you know, my athletes and stuff.
Right. So for those that want to follow Ange, and look, I've just got to say that your depth of knowledge is absolutely phenomenal. Mike sort of said he was a bit blown away by everything he didn't know, and I'm kind of thinking, well, I knew a bit, and I did powerlifting for 15 years, but shit, you've pulled it apart to the nth degree. So those that want to follow someone who really knows their shit,
I'm a freaking nerd. I'm a nerd.
Weights nerd. Strong nerd.
I'm a nerd.
Ange Wilkes, Valkyrie, you can see there her details for her coaching page. You can click on those links, obviously. I found a picture. I had to go on GPC, actually. I found that. So the winner of the GPC
That's last year.
219.
Yeah.
This year, isn't it? This one here.
Yeah, it's this year. Look how skinny I am. Like, what the actual? Like, do you even?
What did you weigh? What was your weight class at the nationals? So I know you said you're 5 kilos under your top out weight, but what were you?
Well, here's a funny story. I have been trying. So I used to be in the under 67 kilo class, and my bench sucked. So I put on weight to get my bench up, and it bloody worked. So I'm in the under 75s, and I weigh usually between. I try and stay. I try so hard to not drop under 70 kilos. often I weigh in at my meets between 70 and 72. I'm very consistent.
Yeah.
I want to try and get close to the 75 kilos and over to get some more strength potential. But I get caught up in working and training and just making sure that I'm continuously eating, to help me get that that bit more leverage under the bar in my off season to use later in the meet.
Because it's
So,
How tall are you, Ange?
I think I'm 157 centimeters or something. I think in height.
Oh yeah, that's about 5'2" in old language, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about where I'm 5'2". Yeah.
So 5'2" and 70 kilos is a fair bit of muscle there.
Yeah.
Hey, just one of the things, just for those that don't know, we're talking about how body weights and weight classes. There's an old adage in powerlifting that you always want to be at the top of your weight class because you give away a bit of advantage. So I would kind of liken it to a bodybuilder who's a 212-pound competitor that's at 200 pounds. They've still got a lot of room to improve their physique. Whereas you with the body weight, you've still got a lot of scope to put on muscle and the strength that comes with it, particularly in the bench and the squat.
I personally believe, I'm still a very developing powerlifter. Even though I'm 41. I started powerlifting in 2014. And I was 60. I think I was like 62 kilos.
Yeah.
So I got addicted. I love it, and I just have just kept chipping away at it. So and there's just phenomenal lifters in New Zealand that are just have really pushed me hard, and I search for people to just push me so that I can push myself to do better. Like always chasing, I guess.
Yeah, and
I've always been a lightweight, small girl. Like I used to
Kate Mitchell beat you up
the lightest lifter.
I see Kate Mitchell beat you up the other day.
Oh, I love her.
Oh, she's gold, isn't she? She is gold. I saw her train the day before, and it gave me a fucking massive hurry along.
She's just awesome, and and for her to give me some time and to train with me, when she gets chances like that, I just thought how awesome, how supportive to have such a, New Zealand's like strongest woman, so that I've ever known really. To you want to get beef up, Ange? Come and have a session with me. Is awesome. She's just bodybuilding, but I need to hypertrophy to get a little bit heavier, well, a lot heavier, and to chip away at it. And man, she got my reps up. Boy, did she ever!
Yeah, I don't know if you know, I did train with her. I've told the story way too many times, but she absolutely destroyed me. So
she can like rep on rep, she just turns in. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like 30 reps on a set. I'm like, bro.
And the form speculative.
That's 3 workouts, isn't it?
That's just her on her seated row, and her years-old Ange putting her plates on. Little Ange making me feel even. I work so hard not to be so small. I'm like loading all her plates on.
Hey, what were your best lifts, or what were your lifts at the GPC Nationals 2020 in your total?
So at Nationals, I lifted, I squatted 170, I benched 95, I went for 100, and I got it. I locked it out and got it up, but I just beat the call, and it flew up like nothing. It was like I couldn't believe how fast I got that up, and I was like, "You dickhead!" No. And I deadlifted. I think I went 180, but then I went to the Viking Cup and I pulled 190. So now I'm like, "Fuck, I can pull 200." So I want to get that squat up. I want that squat to match my deadlift. Yeah. So I've got these goals that I want to work on.
I think the body weight, always helps with the squat and the bench, but very often either doesn't really help with the deadlift or even is detrimental to the deadlift. I know that when, my body weight rose rapidly, my squat and bench went through the roof, but my deadlift actually went backwards. It threw my motor.
I'm actually pretty lucky on the deadlift because of just how I'm made, to be honest. I've got these little legs and I have a longer torso than my legs.
Yeah.
And I have my arms are about an inch too short really for the deadlift, but it's okay. I'm going to survive.
Yeah.
It compensates on my bench. And so I don't have to pull far. Basically for me, if I can get it off the floor, it's over. I've got it.
You got it.
That's how it is for me personally, and it's just due to my lever lengths. That's just little. That's my legs.
Is that you lifting that?
Yeah.
Ah, I wasn't sure because I couldn't zoom in on it.
Yeah, that's me at the Viking Cup. I won that too, like 2 weeks later, and I was still torn. Who does that? What a retard.
What did you pull on that one?
That was the 190. I pulled 190 there. I freaking loved it. I was like, what a grind. That was cool. But it was just heavy. Like it was amazing. It felt heavy. But I thought when I put it down, I thought, you know what, if give me another month, I'd definitely have that 200 to pull. I've got it. I know I have it there. On a good day, when you're feeling fed, well, happy.
Yeah.
Things are in your favor.
Yeah, you've got a very, very compact look in the deadlift. And I remember watching, like I've always admired people that are technically good and adapt to their body shape. And I remember Derek Pomar used to pack down and start very low, and it was almost like a leg press movement, and he'd just kind of leg press himself up without much movement at all. And then there was another chap here who was an absolute master technician at sumo deadlift, and he just sort of, all you'd see, his torso didn't move, his knees just squeezed in, and the bar popped up and he went.
Yeah.
You
All my strength capacity is real central for me, and that's why I hate sumo. I hate it. I hate all things wide.
You're a narrow squatter as well? You squat quite
No, I'm pretty. No, we try and, that's part of my weaknesses is that we're opening me up, and my squat is my work in progress, I guess, and we have made some really awesome technical adjustments on that over the year, which I'm super happy with and so grateful for. Like my hip used to move around like nobody's business, and now I'm so super stable under the weight, and I can open up and control the weight really well now. So
how do you do your technique analysis? Do you video yourself?
Yeah,
Do you have a coach that?
My coach is Nick Prendergast. So he used to own Valhalla Strength. He's Multiply Power, and he's a multiply lifter. And he used to own Valhalla Strength, and I used to manage his gym for him. And over COVID, he closed it down, but we set me up at home, and I created the cage. And he's mentored me the last couple of years, and I just love his knowledge base. He's just an amazing guy. I just love him.
You love that. You're just drawn to those people with that knowledge and same passion, aren't you?
It keeps me out of trouble and interested. Like I'm forever. My mind is always working, and I'm always investigating, I guess, to how I can get my lifters even better, and how I can make myself just move insane amount of weight for what I am. Is always my daily goal.
Hey, I've got a question, and this one of the girls at the gym said it would be really useful to get your take on what a first-time lifter should expect going into a meet for the first time. What kind of?
Well, you know what? That's really cool because this Sunday GPC have their push-pull, and I've got 2 new lifters that are lifting in it. And one lady in particular, she has no knowledge of strength training at all, and she doesn't even belong to a gym. She's built a makeshift gym at her house, and she lives in Hamilton.
Yeah.
And I've been coaching her online, and she's been traveling to Auckland every week on the weekend to come and see me. And for the first-time lifters, what I've said to them is, I want you to enjoy powerlifting. I want you to enjoy your day, and I want you to listen to what I tell you and do what I say. It's really important.
Yeah.
But for the most, I want them to enjoy the experience and not worry too much about numbers, body weight, or if they bomb out on a lift. That's just learning. It's all part of it. We all do it. If experienced lifters bomb out, experienced lifters have issues with all sorts of things. They just take the learning experience for what it is, and then let's build on that for our next one.
Cool. Yeah, it's good. That's a good idea. I mean, it very much if you have a good first experience, and you'll come away with a lot of learning points, but it certainly stimulates your hunger to go and improve on it. You know.
Yeah, like I actually like failure. I really like when a new lifter or even myself just fucks up major. I love it because it's like that means that you're annoyed at yourself and you care and you want to actually do better.
Yeah.
And so I'm all for that happening. I want it to happen. You know, I want you to get red lights. I want you to bomb out. I want all of these things to occur in your lifting career.
Fuck, I'd be perfect. I come train for you, I can get red lights all day. It's got it 3 inches above.
But if you don't listen to me, you're dead meat. That's the other thing.
Not very good at listening. Not my strong suit. No, look, I think that's really cool. Hey, do you want to have any words to the ladies that are thinking about getting into lifting? You know, have you got a message to them in general? You know?
Yeah, I think you know, when I started powerlifting, we were much the minority amongst all these big heavy men, and I was a 62 kilo. My best squat was 70 kilos. My best bench was 45. My deadlift was 75. And my first meet was in 2015. I weighed in at 62 kilos, and I opened on 40 and 42, 45, and I had a blast. I thought it was epic. And I saw these other ladies that were just heavenly, big shoulders, you know, they big thighs. And I just thought, man, I want to be like that. And that drove me to carry on. And I was the first lifter. Like, everyone was better than me. Every single goddamn person was better than me. And that was me for fucking 4 at least years. And I still am that girl. I'm still her. I'm still chipping away trying to improve myself.
I think everyone's been that way, all bar, I think, Derek Pomana, who came in close grip bench, his first competition, 180 kilos, but it was holding about a foot apart. But the rest of us have come in. I competed when I was 15. I was 75 kilos, and I benched 75, and I was stoked. You know,
Yeah.
so we've all kind of been there, and I was at the bottom of the heap, and you know, and there were at that competition, there were guys.
Let's also not get sidetracked. Like, so many people leave sport to go do something else, not realizing, like, if you keep up with it, you're actually gonna get it. You're gonna get where you want to be. But if you give up so early, you know, you're never gonna make it in anything in life. Nothing.
It's really exciting to be part of a meet too. You know, like it's a real good atmosphere, and lifters are cool, man. Lifters are fucking cool, and they help each other out.
Playing, there's lights.
Yeah.
You know, there's the coffee cart outside. And the lifters are like, our community is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're all a little bit oddball, I guess. I think you have to be to do this sort of thing. But for all the women out there that actually want to get into it and think, you know, all sorts of things, like I'm not good enough, or I'm too weak, or whatever goes through a chick's mind, which is a million things, I just say, you know, just start the process of saying, I can do this, and go do it. Kathy Millen.
Caption this. Each year you get to put a hashtag on it. What's your hashtag on Derek and Kathy?
I love Kathy. Fuck, she's cool. I just want to say, fuck, she's cool.
Hashtag fuck, you're cool.
Yeah.
Go.
I think that's so appropriate for her. Like, she was she's the beastiest woman that ever beasted in New Zealand.
Mind blowing. You know, and I've said this before as well, but my aim after that first competition was to be as strong as Kathy Millen one day.
I don't actually know if any one of us will ever be there.
I think I managed to equate her lifts, but I weighed about 30 kilos heavier. And my hashtag for these two was NZ GOAT. You know, both of them have been phenomenal representatives of our sport. We've got heaps of phenomenal representatives. Yeah. We've got heaps of. There's a ton of people out there that are doing, like, I can't remember what was Ben's total at the GPC.
Ben Holmes.
Not Ben.
Ben
Create. Yeah.
And that was intense. I just need to say, so the competition itself was split over 2 days. So I lifted on the day before, and then these guys lifted on the Sunday, and man, it was intense when it came to the squat and everything. Like
He did
I
about
was
400 odd or something, didn't he?
it was
Oh, really?
insane amount of weight. It was all the plates, like it was all the 25s on the bar, the whole lot.
Oh, I love it. How much? How
Like,
much
they had
did
to
you,
go, I was like, are they gonna go searching for more? Because
Yeah.
I don't think there's more.
how much did you lift? All of it.
All of the plates.
All the plates.
The
Oh, I
whole
love it.
goddamn
Oh,
stack.
that's gold. Oh, fuck, I want to go. Next time there's powerlifting comp in my area, I'm going. I've
I think you
decided.
should, like, there's so I'm like
Yeah.
GPC are,
I miss it. I miss it.
they're trying to put in like a lot of novice and like just a lot of meets, like grassroots lifting through New Zealand. They're trying to get some gyms and that to get on board and different people to organize them. So I'm actually going to look forward to just pumping everyone through as many meets as possible next
Hey,
year.
I might just take this opportunity to shout out Cam Allen McNeil from my gym. I used to teach him actually, and about a year after when he was 19, he did his first powerlifting competition. I went along and watched it, took my kids along. He benched, I think, I don't want to sell him short, but he benched 180, squatted 240, and deadlifted 260 or so.
Wow.
At about 105 kilos, but he's a rugby player apparently. Not the strongest 19-year-old you've ever seen. So
My son has started powerlifting. He's 13. He's the youngest.
Nice.
I think he's the youngest there is.
Yeah, I think Zave, my boy, he did a comp when he was 14 at it was down south somewhere. It was it was a GPC comp as well. So he's at 14, he's managed to do his first powerlifting comp. So we've kind of got.
Well, at 14 is
did he lift more than you?
the other feds. GPC
Easily,
let them in at 13.
easily.
That's
Yeah.
why I popped him in.
Nice.
Did he lift
Good
more
call.
than you, Nate? Did he lift more than you?
Yeah, absolutely pissed all over me, man. And mind you, he threw in a strongman competition, and his first competition at 15, and had a former world's strongest man competitor competing alongside him. So I was like, fuck, what a debut. So these young guys and young girls, you know, we love seeing you compete. So if you're watching and you want to get into it, tap some of the people on the shoulder that, you know, that we've talked about, some of the people in your gym, and get involved, because it's a great sport. And fuck, I wouldn't have done half the things I've done if I hadn't started doing some powerlifting. You know, that's where it all started.
There's so many crossover athletes, you know, like the strongman powerlifters, the bodybuilder powerlifters. I've done some bodybuilding too, but I was pretty skinny. If I did it again, I want to do women's physique like Tracy and Kate.
Yeah.
You know, I would want to be like those girls.
Yeah.
You
Hey,
know?
I know some of our probably our most famous unknown powerlifters were the Franks brothers that played for the All Blacks. They competed one year down at Powerhouse Gym in Wellington, and miss you, OB. Phenomenal gym. If anyone ever got to Powerhouse, I think they had 10 squat cages in a row with, you name it, it was there. But the Franks brothers, I can't remember if it was, I think it was Ben Franks came in, and he was in between sort of rugby training, coming into competition, coming into rugby sort of season, and he whipped in and ripped out a squat, bench, and deadlift, and that was strong. That was really strong.
Rugby players do use powerlifting to enhance their season on the field. They do. They have. I think they have to. I think it's all part of their normal training through their week that they have on the field, and then they have in the gym. So it's power sport.
Yeah,
you know, the rugby.
He's a bit of a hybrid, but you know, they're definitely a lot of those guys that could do quite well, you know, if they ever decide that rugby's not the thing. But anyway, so our message to everyone out there is to get involved. And look, if you are a female wanting to get into powerlifting, check out the website, check out that, and get in touch with you, I guess. Easiest thing to do.
Flick me a message.
Fountain of knowledge. Hey, we're gonna wrap it, because I'm getting tired because I did my first leg training and
hungry, and I mucked on trying to connect.
No, you did well. You did well. So thank you, everyone, and look, stay safe out there and have a great week. See you later.
Thank you.